see, it's the McKinley Speedway because the town of McKinley made such a great impact in Final Destination 3, it had to make a return for whatever fucking reason.
You come here hoping to see a crash?
Of course it's to see a crash.
Welcome to the Final Destination's Freddie Cheeks. This guy is just as much of an asshole, but he actually gets laid and stuff. He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and you'll spend most of the runtime wishing someone will replace him that's more likable, like King Joffrey.
Oh, here comes Nick with our stuff.
Introducing Nick, the movie's main character who is so devoid of personality you will spend most of the runtime wishing someone will replace him that's more charismatic, like a basketball. Can someone please tell me if this movie is being sponsored by Pepsi? Because I haven't been given enough information to be sure.
Well, they're not really binoculars exactly.
Savoring the combination of this guy's backwash and very probable herpes.
Can you see, ma'am?
I'm sorry, not really.
Would you like me to move down a bit?
Or, stick with me now, you could just take off the cowboy hat. Oh, cool! It looks like Emmanuel in space finally settled down and had some kids. I'm so happy for her. I myself said goodbye to so many potential kids watching those documentaries.
Put these in!
Pretty much the only reason why Samantha, aka MILF, an actual character name she is called in the credits, uses these tampons for earplugs is so she'll be memorable enough when Nick tries to remember the full roster of death candidates. Holy shit, did that car just run over Flipper? The number 180 makes a return after basically doing nothing in the last movie. Hell, it got the number 081 to cover for it while on a sabbatical. Anyway, glad it could make its return here for the fans who bought all the 180 action figures and comic books and listened to its podcast. So is anyone from this pit crew going to tell someone that a car is out there racing with a screwdriver stuck in it so that the race officials can throw out a caution flag? No? Okay, I guess everyone in Final Destination world is totally inept. What's funny to me is when this tire blows up this woman's head, it just disappears. It's just gone. Like her former head took the tire into another dimension. Oh yeah, I forgot. A lot of the death in this movie is filmed for a 3D experience. All it does in this movie is make the deaths look super cheap as objects fly at you, sort of. It's even worse when you watch the movie in 2D and wonder why everything looks so stupid. This is going to be convenient for the movie's plot later, but it's easy to see why Nick forgets the cowboy when trying to remember the death order, because he's the only one who gets killed in a way that is totally forgettable. And unlike the others, we don't see his face in grisly detail when he dies. Sneaky, those premonitions.
Cowboy.
As soon as the cowboy sat down in the vision, something happened on the track that got everyone to stand up. But here, that doesn't happen.
That's a lot of tampons for one woman.
Not with that attitude, you're not.
We have to get out of here.
Thank God.
What? No. I got $500 on this way.
When someone shows 100% accurate clairvoyance about the future, I tend to listen to that person. Granted, in my world, this has never happened, but I would like to think that if my friend Nick could predict mom puts tampons in her son's ears, I'd listen to him about getting the f*** out of there.
Have you all lost your f***ing mind?
To be honest, I'm really happy this woman dies here, because I would have had a hard time distinguishing her from Janet. I don't know why this couldn't just be Final Destination 4. And what makes this the Final Destination, like Tom Cruise looking for the hardware store and Jack Reacher. This very same year, The Fast and the Furious took the out of the franchise and pretended like that was clever. It's like we have a never-ending stream of Justin Timberlake's removing and adding the from everything. Good to see the news is focusing on what really matters after tons of people died at the racetrack today. An opinion piece on whether amusement parks are going obsolete.
Can we just try to forget about it?
You mean the massive death at the racetrack that you predicted and ended with a woman's head exploding right in front of you? Yeah, let's all try to forget that. Ooh, let's talk about boys.
Can't believe I ever went out with you.
There are 52 people dead after the disaster at the racetrack, and yet this fact is somehow sadder. Random lingering close-up of coin is random and lingering.
I wanted to thank you. You're a hero.
Who she should thank are her kids, who decided to run out of the stadium for basically no other reason than to make their mom chase after them.
Nobody lives forever.
Look, this kind of racism exists all around us, but it feels really out of place in this particular movie. In a movie where we're all here to watch people's guts fly at us in 3D, I don't think we expected to be suddenly watching A Time to Kill. Nick's visions are as worthless as the pictures in Final Destination 3. They give abstract details about the next death that make you wonder why he even gets the visions at all. Why get vivid visions of the deaths at the track, but now the visions are acting like they're being provided by James Joyce?
What's wrong?
I just had a really bad nightmare.
I'm pretty sure it was just excised clips from a direct-to-video Hellraiser sequel. Oh no, the X-Acto knife fell right into a picture of her eye. This somehow means something, even though we know lots of other people have to die before death gets to her. Also, you would think based on this movie's obsessions with photo evidence that this means Laurie's eye will somehow factor into how she's going to die. You would be wrong. So why is picture? Jesus Christ, it's like someone hired the manatees from the South Park episode making fun of the Family Guy, and the plot they came up with is, what if we mixed Final Destination with Mississippi Burning? Destiny turns on the radio. Also, the radio starts playing War's Why Can't We Be Friends, and this is a new, more positive side of death than we have ever seen in these movies. Like, this is more of an ironic plea than a harbinger of death. If you're going to give this guy the name of Carter Daniels, why do you credit him as racist? I guess that aspect of his character is all you'll remember anyway, but still. I was not invited to the no pants party at Nick and Lori's. This magazine is all about sports, beer, gadgets, and cloths. This must be the kinds of images the untalented male precogs see in Minority Report.
I mean, there were flames, and there was a hook, and that red door.
I know what you did last summer while you were hellraisering with Insidious.
Richard's out today. What? Someone got killed on his block, dragged down the street on fire.
So yeah, he said he couldn't come to work today. Said he'd rather be home, closer to the accident. Also, Richard didn't get dragged down the street on fire, and I know he wasn't out there watching because none of the neighbors did shit when Carter called for help. So I think Richard might just use any excuse he can to get out of work. Fucking Richard.
Goddamn chair.
Seeing as how there's no one else working right now, why do you even need to use this chair? I know at salons, hairstylists have their own little workspaces, but it's not like a law or something that they can't use another chair if one's available. Wow, they not only found a hairstylist to work late, but a pedicurist too? Also, I know I made the Quentin Tarantino joke in the video for Final Destination 3, but goddamn, he could have directed this whole franchise.
Let's go. Get in the car. I've got my eye on you two.
Which is a line that makes zero sense given the context. But her eye is about to get popped out by a flying rock, so I guess death compelled her to say it as a sick joke. This is a fairly funny death, since everything in the salon was a death trap and none of it ended up killing Stephanie. It was the stupid rocks her sons were throwing that ended up being the culprit. But this is something Death would do if Death were writing a screenplay and wanted to surprise an audience. In the actual Final Destination world, this is very much against type. It seems a rock was hit by a lawnmower and sent through her head moving at light speed. Also, apparently the witnesses are getting counseling. Two of those witnesses just happen to be her little boys who watched their mom die in front of them, but sure, let's call them witnesses.
We stayed up Googling premonitions, visions, signs, things like that, just to see how much information we could get.
It was annoying enough that Final Destination 3 was trying to make us believe that none of those characters had heard about the Flight 180 incident, but now it's just insane. There would have already been at least an investigation discovery documentary made by this point. No one should have to Google this shit anymore. This paper entitled Documented Accounts of the Flight 180 Premonitions seems to be talking about deaths that are mostly related to Final Destination 2 and have next to nothing to do with the premonitions of Flight 180.
Some say the chain can be broken. Like if you were to intervene into someone else's death, that would end it.
The assholes who say that never check to see if those people are still alive.
What's with that? She went from uptight but normal to uptight and totally insane.
I've been trying to figure out how Hunt is any of these people's friends, and I haven't seen one thing he brings to the table that would make them want to hang out with him, and vice versa. The Final Destination proves once and for all that death can create the Bruce Almighty Moon just as well as God can.
I don't want to be here.
Apparently nobody blocked any of the entrances or locked this place up so that Lori and Nick can go snooping around the stadium.
Maybe this was a really bad idea.
Visiting a damaged structure that could still be potentially unstable? It is, in fact, a terrible idea, Lori.
I just need to remember the order.
Young man, that sounds crazy, but maybe this will help you.
I'm really upset at you for trespassing and your story is insane. Here, let me help you out.
There. That's where that guy in the mechanic jacket died.
So he's next then?
I think so.
Just because you figured out where he died doesn't mean you figured out when he died.
And that's when you die. And then Lori, and then me.
But Lori and George die at the same time, so why didn't Nick phrase it that way? There's no way to know which of them would go first.
Maybe if we can stop this mechanic from getting killed, we can break the chain.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe you might want to read about what happened to the people next in line after the chain was broken. It really feels like the answer would be staring them in the face if they looked at the research longer than 10 seconds.
I mean, we don't even know his name.
Finding his name should be fairly easy, since you saw him at the vigil, which should have her picture and name somewhere, unless they've already torn it down or something. Even so, she should be in the news stories about the event, and you might even find an interview or a picture of the guy. But I guess we're gonna go with, luckily this guy dropped a jacket with a logo of where he works as our main lead. They zoomed to see the mechanic's jacket, which is fine. It's ultra convenient, but whatever. But what I want to focus on is Look at the current situation. The bleachers are in disrepair. There's a bloody handprint nearby, and it looks like the jacket has been turned around. The label is facing the stairs here, but on camera, the label is facing the other way so that the camera can capture it. And it looks like the stadium got a makeover. Also, I love how it looks like there's urgency here, as if they go straight from the stadium to this guy's place of work. But there had to have been at least 8 hours or so of downtime because they all arrived at the stadium in the middle of the night, and now it's morning or whatever. But they obviously didn't wake up early to beat him to the garage because he's in the middle of work when they get there. Fucking dicks. These fuckers walk straight into a dangerous ass garage instead of going to a front desk and asking if they know a guy who went to the race the other day.
Watching Nadia die like that in front of me.
I lost my wife and my daughter in a car accident. I was driving, and I was drunk.
Hold on, those are two very different scenarios. Andy lost Nadia in a freak accident that he was 100% not responsible for, other than having terrible tastes in sporting events. George's wife and daughter died because of George. How did George even get a job as a security guard or in any kind of law enforcement after that? Now I'm more interested in getting answers to that question than anything else this movie has to offer.
I'm around dangerous equipment every day. If I was meant to die, it would have happened by now.
Logic. Death not only knew how they were going to kill the mechanic, they knew that the heroes would show up and be indirectly responsible for his death. Because there's no way any of this nonsense happens if they don't show up, get kicked out, and talk outside by the fence.
Which one is next?
Look, they both died in the collapse.
However, as previously stated, Nick somehow knows for a fact George died before Lori, even though they both were engulfed by the same flame. So why doesn't he know if Hunt or Janet died first?
Are you fucking kidding me?
I finished like 4 minutes ago.
How would she not know that? And dude, would that not have hurt like hell? They should have had someone drinking this Clear Rivers water in a whipped cream bikini, to sell this Easter egg's extreme obviousness. It's really stupid that Nick had to look at this Clear Rivers water ad to get his vision when he's never needed any kind of Kickstarter to his visions before.
Hunt, listen to me, buddy. Listen, no water, okay? Stay away from water.
Why doesn't Nick tell Hunt why he needs to stay away from water? Or be a little more specific with what he saw in the vision? It's a voicemail. You can deliver whatever information you need to. What the fuck, Nick? Nick might actually be the worst friend. Worse than fucking Hunt. Kids. While I would like to applaud Hunt's tactics for showing up this fucking kid, I would also like to send the lack of awareness this kid's parents had to let someone do this to him. I like how the movie makes it seem like just because the kid broke Hunt's phone, he didn't get the warning that he needed. But his character has shown no qualities that would make us believe he'd heed that warning anyway.
Do you know if there's a car wash around here?
Yeah, there's one on 18th.
It's the only car wash in town, so we're very lucky that car washes aren't more popular, or we'd really have to search a lot of places.
Yes, I own you, machine.
She's just checking to make sure she can close the sunroof now? After she's already paid for the car wash? The phone is offline, but apparently it thinks the year is 2006, when the movie is set in 2008 or 2009. We know this because Janet's registration has an 09 on it, and there's no way a person like Janet uses the day first, month second method. Having swimming pools this close to golf courses. Hunt dives in the pool and swims towards the drain, but then the film cuts, and his back is to the drain, and he's being sucked down. Is the movie trying to say the drain is powerful enough to turn Hunt's body around? And if the drain is this powerful, how have none of the other people swimming in the pool for the last few minutes been sucked into it? George just runs his truck into a car wash without knowing if that's Janet or her car in the car wash, and they definitely didn't know she was in any danger. Also stealing someone's car wash. How does not a single person in the pool see what's going on with Hunt? This water is clear as shit, and this guy appears to even be looking in Hunt's general direction.
I'm at peace with it, and my family's waiting for me.
The family that died because of George? That family? I'm sure they're waiting with open arms. I don't understand why you would tape cardboard around your knives instead of just putting them in a box or a plastic container.
When we're done in here, we need to make sure to safe-proof the bedroom next.
I understand the precautions, but unless you plan on staying here at the house forever, I don't understand how safe-proofing the house does much other than maybe keep you protected at home, and that's it. Nick's coffee spills on a newspaper article about 3 students getting killed in a coffee shop, which is exactly how the 3 survivors of this movie are going to die later. And I'm truly beginning to believe that death knows it's in a movie right now. I'm surprised we haven't seen it pop up on screen with some witty pop culture references a la Deadpool.
Look,
I would love to know how fate, or whatever the movie's called is, somehow made the coffee spill just the right way to write, through action they were saved on this newspaper. Like it's a willing participant of the Da Vinci Code or some shit.
I've been trying to kill myself all day.
saving Janet must have destroyed the list then.
Where is Lori getting that rationale from? If George couldn't do what he wanted to do, it says more to me that Death has another plan on how to kill him. Death was not after them anymore after surviving their original deaths, then George should have been able to proceed with no problem.
It's in 3D.
Lovelace dying? Yeah, I think I'll be alright. Sounds like a chick flick.
When we see the footage, it clearly isn't a chick flick, so I don't know why Nick is never corrected here.
Amsterdam, here we come.
Do we even know what these f***ers do for a living in this movie? I haven't heard a damn thing about a job, inheritance, Curly's gold, or injury settlement once.
Remember that guy who sat in front of me at the race with the cowboy? He didn't die, all right, which means he's next.
But why hasn't Death killed him yet? Did Death want to make sure Nick heard some convenient news position before taking out the cowboy?
You feeling okay, Mr. Subi?
Why do you care? You know how many of your kind I killed in Korea?
With very little prompting, the movie inserts its second racist character, as if we were missing Carter Daniels.
Be back in a few minutes to get you into that tub.
I wonder what the hiring practices are like in this world. Like, does everybody have 3 major incidents of negligence on their resumes that an employer has to weed through to make a hire? It feels like everyone in these movies is uniquely horrible at their jobs, and they must have been hired over people who were somehow more unacceptable. Like, not turning off the faucet on a tub that's already full is a fucking crazy thing to miss. It's been at least a couple days since the incident at the racetrack, so why does the cowboy still have blood all over his face?
Where's Lori?
I've been calling and texting all afternoon. She's not picking up her phone.
Lori somehow very conveniently didn't pick up her phone all day with her beloved boyfriend calling, despite not even being in the movie for most of that time. At this point, would the water not have seeped into the hallway where we've seen medical staff walking? Or are they so ignorant that they're sloshing through a creek and not giving it a second thought?
Yeah, but if I would have asked him to move like I did in the premonition, he would have died.
It's hilarious they're speaking so openly about this in an elevator, but it's like the rest of this movie forgot to be this funny too. It's so out of place. So the sin is talking this openly about death premonitions in public. The tub falling on the cowboy scene is perhaps one of the laziest kills they have ever done in this franchise. At least the Krista Allen death was a misdirection. This one was just so straightforward with very little Rube Goldberg influence.
My wife said that deja vu is like God's way.
This is what I'm talking about. I mean, the guy driving this ambulance is probably the same guy who drove the bus that killed Terry in the first Final Destination, right? Nick notices the medical symbol from his vision earlier. That one was tied to the cowboy's tub death. He didn't even get a vision about George, unless his visions are just cheating and cutting corners like this movie is.
I didn't buy him for you, I bought him for Nick. He likes me in sneaks.
I feel pretty confident in stating that when a young man's girlfriend asks him what is the one accessory they could purchase that would make him the happiest, the answer is never sneakers. I feel like the active construction of new auditoriums in a theater wouldn't happen unless they closed the theater. But even if this does happen, it's a fucking sin.
It's not coming out though, Janet.
And maybe, I don't know, take your foot out of the goddamn shoe. Also, was this just a coincidence Lori almost got killed by an escalator? Or was Death just fucking with her before the real kill happens? It's as if someone told Death, "You're pretty evil, but you're no Michael Myers." And then Death set out to prove he can fuck around with people before murdering them just as well as Mike.
Theater 13, second door on your left.
This is a 3D movie, but neither the box office cashier nor the usher gave them any glasses. For some reason, in this vision, Nick gets a very specific look at the explosion in the theater. In his previous visions, he's just given random signs that will hopefully point him to the outcome. With Janet and Hunt, all he knew was that water would come into play with their attempted murders. Did this vision know we were getting close to the finale? Did the vision read the script? Even if you're trying to save a life, this is a dick move. I know that's a giant fan, but is it powerful enough to move a metal cart that is loaded down like this? If that's the case, why would they ever even use the fan? It would cause all kinds of shit to fly around while they're trying to work. I don't know why building new auditoriums in a theater requires this many barrels of combustible material. This audience reacting in unison is almost as ridiculous as movies that have teenagers at prom all performing an impromptu and insanely choreographed dance number. Take it from me, the people sitting on the front row here are one huge fucking lie. People won't sit on the front row if you paid them to watch the movie, especially in 3D.
Down in front, asshole!
The climax of this movie is trying way too hard to repeat stuff from the racetrack scene. Most people get a little leeway when they first arrive to an auditorium, but this guy got scolded immediately.
Sir, move your feet.
And then there's this usher asking this guy to move his feet, which is exactly what George told the racist to do earlier in the movie. You wouldn't ask this guy to move his feet, you'd ask him to take them down off the seat.
Lori, it's over. Nothing is gonna happen.
This movie's version of Amanda Crew decides not to take Lori seriously, even after all the stuff they've been through in this movie. They really make it so that you don't care if people die in these things, do they? First off, let's go over some things this theater f***ed up when making showtime for Lovelace dying. The first problem is that they, or the company that owns this theater, didn't book one 2D showing in the 9 auditoriums for this movie. And there really should be 6 or 7 if we're being honest. Even if this is an exclusively 3D movie, there's no reason for it, considering the footage we see later. The next problem is the showtimes themselves, which have multiple showings at the same time, including 2 9 p.m. shows, followed by an inexplicable 9:05 show and a 4:10 followed by a 4:15. An absolute dumbass was in charge of this. Next, auditoriums 9 and 11 have the exact same shows, except for the 9:30 time for some reason. I guess these could be considered interlock shows. Maybe they canceled some other movie so they could accommodate a bigger crowd, but with 9 of your 13 auditoriums showing the same movie, there should never be a reason to interlock. Furthermore, let's talk about the time between shows in each auditorium. Auditoriums 9 and 11 suggest this movie is roughly 2 hours, maybe a little more. But then Auditorium 10 has much shorter downtimes, suggesting a movie that might be around 90 minutes. But then even this is blown up by Auditorium 13, which has an unbelievable 90-minute interval. The ushers have to clean this movie at some point, right? The 90-minute interval suggests a movie that is an hour at most. But when you come back to Auditoriums 9 and 11, you wonder why they have 3-hour intervals. Lastly, these showtimes are bad for your business on many levels, but I'll close by saying Auditorium 1 has a midnight show on a Tuesday. I don't know too many places that show midnights on Tuesdays, but the fact that you don't have any 10 p.m. or later showtimes for Love Lays Dying until the midnight show is a fucking sin.
Are you kidding me?
I'm surprised your girlfriend didn't tell you the time of the movie, but seeing as how she went to one of the 3 p.m. shows, I guess I could see that being quite the pickle. I'm not taking back my sin, though. Also, The Lasher. I have yet to see one reason why Love Lays Dying is a 3D movie. Also, I think this movie is The Long Kiss Goodnight. Man, if only that movie got the love this fake movie apparently receives.
This is where I was supposed to be in the first place, not that stupid race. I was meant to see this movie.
Nick and Lori run off before Janet finishes her impassioned speech, as if they know they won't get far enough away from the explosion if they stay and listen to the rest. Or they just hate Janet, which is understandable. The chances the explosion behind the screen would be timed perfectly with the explosion on the screen are astronomical. Death sure does take its time making sure the death is as epic and cinematic as possible. Also, I look forward to the movie studio actually using this footage later on for promotional materials. Love Lays Dying will literally blow you away. I would have removed all the sins if Janet turned to them right now with all this stuff sticking out of her and once again said,
I was meant to see this movie.
Lori starts spitting up blood because her leg and foot get caught in the escalator? Movie doesn't anatomy correctly. So after all that abstract vision shit that carried the movie for the last 50 minutes, they now return to the trademark Final Destination premonitions we've come to expect when the movie kills characters we care about. I couldn't finish that sentence with a straight face. Also, good to see Nick wakes up just in time not to save George, because the real twist is that Nick's visions are also racist. Also, in this scenario, since Nick had the vision of the theater exploding after this, that means Nick had a vision of himself having a vision of the theater explosion. That hasn't happened any of the other times. It's like some sort of vision inception. Pretty sure even Paul Bettany would tell you that's some visiony bullshit. This door was cracked open and there was already a pretty serious fire brewing. How did no one smell some smoke or notice anything prior to Nick showing up? Having a fire alarm that's non-functioning in a room filled with a shit ton of flammable chemicals. This perfectly placed pile of flammable nonsense is perfectly placed and nonsensical.
Look, we were wrong about the order before. What if we're wrong about breaking the chain?
And we wouldn't be here at all.
Damn it, Janet! It's amazing given the total absolute control Death has had in this situation that this wood panel doesn't break when he picks it up. This works and it really shouldn't. That's a chemical fire. You would usually need powder, foam, or a specific chemical fire extinguisher to put it out. Water could even potentially make the fire spread further. Why is Death giving Nick, Lori, and Janet 2 more weeks if it's still after them? And we know it is because every goddamn Final Destination movie ends the same. After all the shit that has happened to Nick, Lori, and Janet, they still choose to frequent an establishment with the word death in its name. Considering that It's Coming and Eileen are both scratched into the table here, it's a goddamn shame no one scratched the word on above Eileen, you know? Because of the song?
What if us being here, right now, was the plan from the beginning?
Well, my answer is that would be stupid. Why would Death do that? Also, if that's true, then that means none of them were supposed to die at the racetrack in the first place, so Death coming after them, almost killing Janet in the car wash, Lori at the mall, etc. was unnecessary. Death could have just let them live their merry lives until this specific day. If what Nick is saying is true, then they didn't actually fuck up Death's plan, and I didn't have to spend the last 76 minutes watching this movie. This coffee shop is called Death by Caffeine, and I think that's false advertising given what we see here.
We got rear-ended. I think we spun around twice. And somewhere in there, one of us lost our frame of reference.
Tell me again why we chose this over seeing the movie.
If you smell a delicious, crispy smell after the race, it's not your tailpipe. It's a little bit of shake and then bake.
I wanted to thank you. You're a hero.
If I was a boxer, I would bounce those things like Sugar Ray Leonard.
I just had a really bad nightmare.
okay, it's just a dream.
You would like my peanuts?
Shrimp is the fruit of the sea. You can barbecue it, boil it, broil it, bake it, saute it.
And that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
Hey, babe, what's up?
He's been using Brand X.
This means something. This is important.
Maybe if we all stick together.
Sticking together is what good waffles do.
Munich. What? A guy without his balls. From Munich. Munich is a city in Germany.
Right. Hitler only had one ball.